Alright, the Reds, it is the preview show and we are previewing Brighton and Hove Albion versus Liverpool Football Club. 12:30 Saturday on the telly. Liverpool playing on the south coast. Second place v 13th. And Brighton are not in good form and they've lost the last 4 in the league. And have only won 2 games since the turn of the year in all competitions. They were away to Everton on January the 2nd and away to Watford on the 12th of February. Ian, Everton, sort of as usual, because we are supporting a brilliant side, of course, everything does point towards this should be all right for Liverpool. They should be able to go down there and get a result. And yet, you know, I sense a lot of sort of trepidation among a lot of Reds. You know, like it's like they're saying things like tough place, not the best kick-off time. You know, the Reds are off the back of losing to Inter Milan, albeit that they went through across the course of the tie. How are you feeling about this one?
I think the kick-off time is a thing because the manager's mentioned it a couple of times. So I think we all know he doesn't like it. So maybe that feeds into people's thoughts a little bit. I mean, 12:30, Robert, it's a bit of a ball.
It is a bad time for a game.
But it's the same for both teams, so, you know, there is that. I know we're obviously travelling down there, but that will be on the day of the game, obviously. I think on the back of a performance against Inter Milan, which wasn't particularly great, but again, you could probably, if you want to be kind, caveat it with, it felt like the tie was over and Liverpool were in control, and once the man goes off and stuff, you never really felt you were in too much danger. They're not a particularly great team, Brighton, and I remember giving them quite a bit of praise after the game at Anfield because I thought they were good that day.
Yeah.
It feels like in many cases that narrative continued to be spun despite the results telling you they're not that good. They've lost more than they've won. Their home record isn't particularly great. You know, Villa and Burnley have both gone there in recent weeks and turned them over. Burnley very convincing, it was 3-0. They absolutely kind of battered them, and then obviously Villa, we spoke about off air, not loads in terms of possession, but they do enough. And I think Brighton are one of those teams where, yes, it can look pretty, it can look nice on the eye, but more often than not, there's not loads and loads of end product.
I mean, Mopé's their top scorer, and he was benched against Newcastle, so that sort of tells you where it's all at in terms of top end of the pitch. They haven't really been doing it. And you're right to point out the home form as well. I mean, in terms of home form only, they're the 16th best or worst, however you want to look at it, team in the Premier League right now. Only won 3 games at home all season: Watford, Leicester and Brentford. Their biggest defeats at home, City, when they went there in October, went and won 4-1. And Ian, you mentioned that Burnley won 3-0 there last month. They're also the league's joint second lowest goal scorers in front of their own fans. So Brighton fans in the league, Premier League games, have only seen 10 goals this season. They've been better on the road than they have been at home. I think the other thing where maybe there's a little bit, I mentioned trepidation among our lot, basically. You know, the recent history, you know, we haven't actually beat them for a couple of years now. They play well at Anfield, which you mentioned in October, come from 2-0 down, got a 2-2 draw, really frustrating for us, of course. But, you know, I think most people walked out the ground that day and were like, they were worth that. Yeah. You know, they had a good go. Liverpool had a couple of goals disallowed, Mane for handballs, Salah for offside, but they also had one chalked off for offside at 2-2. So I think both sides could sort of walk away and say, well, it was fair enough. So yeah, 2-2 at Anfield the last time out, October. Before that, February, they obviously came to Anfield and won 1-0 in front of no fans. Before that as well, there was a 1-1 draw November 2020 at their ground. So the last win is July 2020 for the Reds there. So they've got to sort of knock that into shape, sort that record out. As I say, this sort of, I mean, I'm all right with it. Like, I'm not down in the dumps whatsoever about Liverpool. You know, we won a cup, we're on for a quadruple, and I just think, you know, you'll go through little phases when you're trying to push for everything, where there'll be games you grind out and stuff like that. I think some people are trying to make it into something more than it is for me. So, okay, you know, first, the unbeaten home record going after 28 games unbeaten at home, spanning a year, you know, that's grim, and that's a shame. Equally, you know, 3 goals in 6.5 hours of footy, one of them coming from a corner, you know, a little bit of fortune around opposition chances not being taken, so, you know, Lanzini and Mount even in the final and things like that. And then there's the Mo not scoring last 3 games, hitting the woodwork. All right, the Reds, thanks for watching a little bit of a premium Anfield Wrap video there. If you want to watch the rest of that show and get access to much, much more, click join below. That activates our YouTube membership. It means you get a premium video every day of the week. You get our post-match content, you get reviews, previews and exclusive interviews, all here from the heart of Liverpool. Follow us, follow them. Up the Reds.